Hey, YouTube, what's going on with you guys, man? It's been a while, huh? It's been a little minute, man, since I done updated y'all. My truckers on this trucking journey, man. What's been going on with me, man? You know what I mean? We still living the owner-operator lifestyle out here. Right now, we are in Chicago. Sitting at we're getting loaded, about to head out, man. Been sitting here for like 5 hours, but it usually, for some reason, it's usually like this in Chicago. But I mean, I usually mainly just do drop and hook loads, but whenever I come to Chicago, the load is paying good, so I'm like, let me go ahead and get it. And this so happened to be a live load, you know what I mean? So it's gonna take up quite a bit. And man, yeah, so you know what I mean, but we still out here rolling, man. We done came a long way from Stevens Transport, man. And, I was just sitting here thinking, like, bruh, have you been following my journey this whole time? Like, how crazy it's been, like, through all the stuff that's been going on, and then to still be out here rolling, like, as far as, like, getting let go for Prime. They didn't even give me a reason. Where they said I was on my phone in a meeting, but then it came out, I told them, well, let's check the cameras, because I know I wasn't on my phone. And they said, well, you know what, we think we're just going to go a different way. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. Or even, Stevens wasn't too bad, but Stevens micromanager was driving me crazy. To driving for Russian companies, and then, trying to get me to do stuff that I know I wasn't supposed to be doing. Like the dude who just got killed like 5 people in Dallas driving, and he said he took like a 1,000-mile trip in one day. Which isn't funny because people died. That's a very sad situation. But it's funny because he said he drove 1,000 miles in one day. And it's like, wow, you only get 11 hours in one day. So, you know what I mean? So then I avoided that. Remember, I had went to Vegas, and when I got to Vegas, I was with a company like that, and they sent me, and then, they put me in one of their trucks, and then told me, you know what, hey, I told them I'm going to Vegas, you know what I mean? So then they said, hey, tell you what, we're going to get you this load to LA. We're going to drop the truck off there to get a PM oil change and all that stuff. Then you fly. Then we're going to fly you to Vegas, right? They said they're going to fly me to Vegas. I think they paid for the flight to Vegas, right? And fly you back. That's what they said. We're going to fly you there and fly you back, since you got to drop the truck off in LA, right? So I said, cool, bad, right? Then so once I dropped the truck off, got on the plane, landed, they stopped answering the phone. Like, I think I had to call them for something. I was like, man, let me call them real quick, make sure something, right? And then, they start answering the phone, and then, I'm thinking, they probably just went home for the weekend. I think it was like on Friday or something like that. But then I'm thinking, I'm like, well, shit, I'll call them in a few days. They still not answering the phone. So then I ended up getting a flight back to Vegas, and when I got back to Vegas, they said, oh, they called us and said that we're not supposed to let you back in the truck. I'm like, well, all my stuff is in the truck, right? So then I finally get a hold of them, and, they're like, your dispatch said that you weren't answering the phone or something like that. He couldn't get a hold of you. I'm like, yeah, that's because, I was doing that only because, it was more stuff than that, but it was really what he was trying to get me to do, and I told him no, I wasn't going to do it. So after that, he was like, oh, well, shit, you ain't going to play by our rules, then we ain't going to play ball. So, you know what I mean? So that probably saved me from a Dallas situation, though, you know what I'm saying? And, so yeah, anyway, so then I finally get a hold of him, and it's like, yeah, your dispatch say you don't answer the phone, and you only running 400 miles a day or something like that, he said. And I was like, what? I just have messages on there, and plus we was using the Text Me app or something like that, right? To where they can delete all their messages, where there's no proof that they was telling me to do this, or they was telling me to do that, or they was telling me to do this, right? So it was, it was a cold game. But anyway, yeah, so then they finally, it's like, you know what, look, we're going to tell them to open up the truck, you grab what you can carry, and then, we'll get you a flight back to Dallas. So I said, you know what, I left like $500-$600 worth of shoes in there, no telling clothes, all that stuff I left in there. But it was just a loss I had to take. You know what I mean? So then, what happened after that? You know what I'm saying? Then after that, you know, we're trying flatbed. And, you know, flatbed, I decided really quickly flatbed wasn't for me. You know what I mean? Really quickly, I think that probably lasted like 2 months. I probably made like $800 or something like that in my pocket. You know, strapping loads, tarping, and all that stuff. And it wasn't making no money. My last check was like $100, and I think I ran like 3,000 miles that week, something crazy. So I told them, you know what, hey man, this is my last trip. I'm about to come back, turn y'all truck in. They saw me rolling back. They said, James, where you going? I'm bringing y'all's truck back. That's where I'm going. So then, after that, what we do? We went to Warren. Yeah. After that, we went to Warren Transport. Warren Transport was all good until the very end. You know what I mean? And the only reason that wasn't good was because, well, the money stopped being good the whole last year. The money was just horrible the whole last year, right? And after that, I'm talking about bad the whole last year. I think the most I made in a month was like $3,000. And I was on the road from January until September, and the most I made was like $3,000 in a month. I made videos about it a long time ago. So, you know, but the first year I made like, I made a lot of money. The first year I probably took home like 130, 140, right? But the second year, shit just went bad and stayed bad the whole year, right? So eventually I was like, you know what, I got no choice but to just go ahead and get up out of here, right? So then the only thing, you know what, the good thing about that was I had a dispatcher that was cool, you know what I mean, that I could really deal with, so it wasn't like huge, you know what I mean, it wasn't like a huge deal. But the only thing that was bad was the safety guy, Ben. He's slimy as it gets. He, you know, I had an incident come back from California, and I was on the service road, and when I was starting to go, you know how the trailer rolls back a little bit, and then it will take off. With this Mexican dude put up on the back of me, right? Driving a Mazda, like a 08 Mazda, something like that, right? And he's like, I see him, I'm at the stoplight, about to go, and he walking up beside my truck, and he's on the phone, and I'm like, what are you doing? What's going on? He's like, you hit me. I'm like, okay, well, follow me, you know what I mean? So then I follow him, pull over, and I look at his bumper, and there's no damage on there. He's already called the cops by that point, right? Already called the cops, right? I think I still had the pictures of that, matter of fact. And, so then, you know, the police comes and he's like, what happened? And I'm like, he's saying I backed into him, but he was too close to me. There was nothing I could do. You know what I'm saying? He's like, and I'm like, now if you're looking at his bumper, there's no damage. And then he's like, but he backed into me. I'm like, but there's no damage. You know what I'm saying? At 5 miles per hour, it would have tore your whole front bumper up, right? So then, you know, he had already called the cops, right? So the cops like, what do y'all want me to do about this? And I'm like, what is there to do about this? You know what I mean? So then, you know, he's like, well, just give him your insurance information. Long story short, the insurance was basically saying the same thing. I'm saying, like, bruh, what do you want us to do? You're scamming, basically, right? So then when I called Ben that day, you know, I told him what happened. We were sending the pictures and all that stuff, right? And then a few days later, I called him, you know, hey, or a few months later, I called him, hey, I just want to check on what's going on with that, you know, if it's going to be on my DAC report or something like that for an accident, right? And then he was like, well, if you backed into him, then it's going to be your fault. And I'm like, you know what? I'm like, well, you know what I mean? I said, I can't remember what I said after that. And then he started reading, and he's like, oh, no. They insurance decided not to pursue it, so don't worry, it's not going to be in your DAC report. We just close it out. I said, it's not going to be in my DAC report. No, it's not going to be in your DAC report. I'm like, is there something that you can give me in writing? He's like, no, I'm not going to give you anything in writing, but you can record this conversation if you like. I'm like, you know what? You haven't given me any reason to believe that you are not a man of your word, you know what I mean? So I'm going to go ahead and take you for your word on this one, you know what I mean? That was a hard lesson learned. So then once I left, and you know what, I called him, and like the first week I was gone, I'm like, hey man, you know, I just wanted to follow up with you and make sure that's not on my DAC report, because I know companies after you leave, they tend to put stuff like Stevens did me. That Stevens did me bad, like that too. Like, like Stevens, I was driving the truck for Stevens, and the first day I had the truck, the second day, the bumper fell off, right? And I called them, and you know what I mean? They're like, I'm driving down the road, and the bumper just fell off. And they're like, okay, don't worry about it. Just, tie it up, and then we'll figure it out later on or something like that, right? And then we got it fixed, and they told me it's not my fault, right? So then once I left the company and I applied to Warren, they said, well, yeah, man, we can't hire you. You sure to have 3 accidents. And I'm like, 3 accidents? I've only had 2. You know what I mean? And I'm like, what? And then they're like, yeah, Steven said that you wrecked and messed up the bumper, the front bumper, right? I'm like, I didn't mess up the front bumper. So then, you know what? I'm like, all right, let me just call them and see what's up. So I call them and I get in touch with the safety department. I'm like, hey, you know what I mean? So y'all are showing that this bumper, that I had an accident, but I didn't have an accident. He's like, oh, okay, let me pull it up, boom, boom, boom. Yeah, it shows that you wrecked the front bumper. The bumper fell off. I'm like, yeah, but I didn't wreck it. It just fell off. He's like, the bumper's not just gonna fall off. Exactly how he said it, right? So I'm like, man, I'm like, bro, I didn't wreck the bumper, right? The bumper fell off. Where's this dude? What's his name? Elvis. Elvis is who I talked to. He's the one that, you know what I mean? We got it all figured out, right? So then Elvis wasn't there or something like that. So I might just go up there and talk to him, right? So then I went up there and I'm like, Elvis, okay, look, remember, this is the days I talked to you and woo and showed him the messages and stuff like that I had. I'm like, and you told me that it wasn't my fault, I wasn't gonna be at fault about it. He's like, all right, let me do some research. Boom, 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 boom. Oh, you know what, James? This truck actually had an accident right before you got it, and they decided and they didn't fix it, right? So that was 2 times, you know what I'm saying? The 2 times the trucking company slimed me out, and they tried to slime me out. So then Warren, right? So then I call him and I'm like, hey, you say I just want to make sure this isn't going to be on my DAC report. You know what I'm saying? He said, well, if you back into him, then it's going to same thing he said last time. I was like, hey, man, before you keep going, just read the notes on it because we went through this last time, right? So then he reads the notes and he's like, yeah, you're at fault. I'm like, you told me that their insurance didn't pursue it, so I wasn't going to be at fault. He says, I never told you that. I just got the green light, so they're about to call me here shortly. I just got the green light, too. So he said, I never told you that, right? So I'm like, that's exactly what you said. And he's like, I never told you that. I'm like, so I was like, so as a man, you gonna sit here and tell me that you didn't tell me this and you didn't tell me I could record the phone conversation? He says, I never told you that. I said, let me speak to whoever's above you, right? So then the boss man, the owner calls me back and he's like, look, he's like, we had to put it on your DAC report because the police were called, right? And Ben's not the one who put it on your DAC report. So I'm like, okay. So anyway, yeah, but you know what I mean? So we went through all that stuff, you know what? Then we became owner operators. And now, I'm booking my own loads, you know what I mean? And it's been going lovely, you know what I mean? I just took a month off and went to Florida. I literally spent a month in Florida. You know what I mean? Nobody calling me asking, when are you coming? Ain't nobody messing with my money. They not messing with my money at all, you know what I'm saying? Everything's just been great, you know what I'm saying? And I came back my first week and got a check. Now, you know what I mean? Like, if you know as a lease operator, you're not coming back and getting a check for like 3 weeks, right? I took a month off, came back my first week and got a $1,500 check for running like 2 loads, you know what I mean? Plus the insurance I had to catch up on. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just like, man, this is lovely. You know what I mean? But anyway, yeah, so they just gave me the green light. So I'm sure I'm about to get a call here shortly. But, man, I just want to, just catch up with my truck drivers out there. You know what I'm saying? And, see how everybody else been doing out there. I'm not going to tell you where I work because every time I tell you where I work, I get a random call for some odd reason that I done did something I wasn't supposed to be doing, you know what I'm saying? Or not even just that, just think about what I just told you, all the video proof that I have proven that I've been telling the truth, and what still happens when, but I think it's more of things I say like towards certain communities that I might not agree with how they live, or you know what I mean, things like that. People just make up lies because I've never been fired for something that I've done. You know what I mean? So with something that they can say I've done, it's always just been you know, we're gonna let you. We're like really the only time it ever happened was with the Russian company and Prime. But Prime, you know what I'm saying, they just, man, they've been, I don't know, stories I've been hearing about Prime, I don't even want to get into that. I don't want nothing to do with that energy. You know what I mean? So, anyway, it's been great ever since, man. I'm making my own schedule and work when I want to, sleep when I want to, take off as long as I want to, come back to a check. You know what I'm saying? So it's lovely. But anyway, yeah, man, y'all take it easy, man. We came a long way, but you know what I'm saying? Long way to go, too. Yeah.